Someone the other day claimed there are 30 claimants to the papacy today. But when I pressed them for a list, they refused to produce one. So we've got to get out there and, start separating fact from fiction. True, there are more claimants to the papacy today than any time in history. In the past, we had at most 3 claimants to the papacy during the Western Schism. And that would be another video unto itself. Okay, so there are 21 listed in various places on the internet that I could find in a quick search. Of course, we can dismiss some of these claims immediately. All right, before I participated in the production of Will the Catholic Church Survive the 20th Century, we want to prove the papacy was vacant, because you cannot elect a pope if there is a pope. In fact, when I became convinced that we needed a pope back in 1987, my first question was, has someone already elected a pope? Because I knew there had been efforts going since the early 70s. So I went out and looked, and there were several claimants to the papacy at that time. And I had contacts worldwide, and I inquired of them as well. And this is where we get to these who are claimed appointment by some alleged apparitions. Okay, we'll begin with Clemente Dominguez in Palma de Troya, Spain. Okay, he claimed to have been appointed by an apparition. The original rumor back in 78, because he was appointed as successor to Paul VI by this alleged apparition. They claimed a butterfly landed on his windowsill. The claim has changed since then. But popes are not appointed by apparitions. They never have been. Okay, and then we have a Gaston Tremblay in Canada. Clemente and Tremblay share the same name, Gregory the 17th, and a claim to alleged apparition. Clemente has had, I think he's now had 3 successors. The first one didn't live too long and died. The next one resigned and got married. And now there's a third, as I recall. Tremblay, from what I looked up the other day, apparently does not have a successor. We can dismiss Tremblay. Even Clemente, he founded his Palmarian church. He's got new rites of the sacraments. I mean, he's a worthy successor of Paul VI. Okay. Tremblay believed in women, priests, and bishops. Okay, then we had a Peter II, Chester Olszewski of Pennsylvania, a former Episcopalian priest who served his claim in 1977 or 1980. We didn't hear his name in 78, but he, as I recall, someone in Pennsylvania, not a Catholic. I thought it was a Methodist, but I mean, I'm going from internet sources. But we heard of this in 78, and he just asserted his claim like he's not even a Catholic. That's one of the requirements to be Pope, is to be a Catholic. Okay. Then there's the claim of Pope Adrian VII, better known to American Catholics as Francis Schuckert of the CMRI. Yes, that's the same CMRI under Bishop Mark Peperunas. They tried to minimize the connection with Schuckert. I've read something on it, and he sort of thought as the only bishop left in the world, he had slight claim to papacy, but then he lacked the essential quality of being elected. Then we can eliminate the internet fictions, which cannot be found. And even one that circulated a decade after, this was a beautiful presentation. It was mailed to me. Pages. There were 3 claimants to the papacy. The last one, he was awful young looking. In any case, one of them looked a lot like John Paul II. Then had pictures of all of his hierarchy. Well, a few years later, I was on a website, pictures of bishops of the independent movement. I won't go into great detail what the independent movement is. Basically, it's the old Catholics and descendants from Bishop Duarte Costa out of Brazil, who were separated from the Catholic Church. And I see some of these same pictures on this website as I saw on this collection. It's like, well, someone just went to the internet and collected pictures and made a nice presentation. Total fiction. Okay? And there are a lot of internet fictions. And I won't spend my time proving to you and listing them all off because we don't need to. popes are elected. Whether it's by one person, as happened 5 to 8 times in history. I got 5 documented. I've seen a claim on the internet of 8 by emperors and empress, interference by a mother in an election. But popes are elected. So let us look at the actual elections. Okay, Victor von Pence, Pope Linus II, 1994 until about 2002, 2003, when he quit and went into seclusion and became a bank guard in northern England, last I heard. Okay, this conclave, and it was a conclave held in Assisi, Italy. I know several people who participated in it, including a Father Thomas Fooey and a Kenneth Mock. I've been in contact with others that were there. Basically, they never considered my election from 1990, although Father Fooey knew about. He wrote me a letter shortly after my election. Ken Mock knew about it. He was present within up to an hour or two before the election, deciding not to participate at the last minute. This other Took-line bishop I got in contact with, who was there, he said, yes, I knew of your election, because we had been in contact prior to my election, and he considered coming, etc. So, they did not address and prove the papacy vacant, so they should not have proceeded. Plus, they proceeded 4 years after my election. Then we have Pope of the True Catholic Church, in quotation marks, Lucian Pulvermacher, Pope Pius XIII, 1998 to 2009. He also knew of the election. He ordered 10 copies of Will the Catholic Church Survive the 20th Century? Okay, he was in contact with Ken Mock, okay, who worked with him up until a few months before the election, when Pulvermacher sacked him. Yeah, Ken Mock actually wrote some of the foundational articles, which if you can find their website, it's still buried somewhere on the internet. You can read these articles. The articles are actually quite good. Okay, they did not prove the papacy vacant. They did not address my election at all. Then we have popes of the Iglesia Católica Apostólica Remanente, based in Buenos Aires, Argentina. Okay, Oscar Micheli, elected on 24 March 2006 by a group of 34 Episcopi Vagantes. These are vagrant bishops, which probably mean independent movement. I don't think any Took-line took part. I heard of this and tried to make contact with this group in 2006, because I do not know that they knew of my election. Okay, he took the name Pope Leo XIV. He died in 2007, was succeeded by Juan Battista Bonetti, who took Pope at the 14th, but resigned 29 May 2007. Alexander IX was chosen to take his place, and he also resigned into oblivion. Okay, he resigned into nothingness, and so there's no claimant of this line anymore, so we can actually discount this. Now we have Pope Boniface Atticus I. What I can find out, a conclave located in rural Minnesota decided to elect their own pope to offset the issues they saw as irreconcilable with the Catholic Church. In the model of the true Catholic Church, a pope was elected to usher in a new era of traditional Bible Catholicism, or full circle Catholicism, that was seen as stripped from the Roman Catholic Church in the events during and after the Second Vatican Council. Basically, again, he did not prove the papacy vacant. I think I may have had some contact with him, but I thought he was in Florida at that time. And basically, they're not following the church. Then, of course, people don't consider the 2 claimants in Rome, Benedict and Francis. Okay, and I say 2 claimants now in Rome. Benedict doesn't claim it, but I have seen people consider it true or false pope, which that's another story, put forward the proposition that has some foundation that Benedict's resignation from the papacy of the Vatican II Conciliar Church was forced and therefore invalid. Now, of course, then we have Francis. We discount and discredit them because we go back to the root, John the 23rd, the second anti-Pope John 23rd in history, elected on October 28, 1958. popes do not succeed anti-popes. Popes succeed true popes. And so we've been briefly through the claims to the papacy. We have set all of them aside, with the exception of going into depth on John 23rd, Paul VI, John Paul I, John Paul II, the Great Deceiver, Benedict the First of the Conciliar Church, and Francis the First of the Conciliar Church. That I've discussed elsewhere, so I'm not going to waste my time on that. But yes, this is 23 I come up with, including a John Paul III, a couple Peters II, a Peter Romanus II. But these are mostly either apparitions or internet fictions. And so there aren't 30 claims to the papacy. In fact, currently, if we consider both Francis and Benedict, there are 2. Let me take a look. And then there's Boniface Atticus I, which I haven't looked far enough to determine whether or not there's even it was a conclave, or what they did. They'd make a 3rd, and then I would be the 4th. Because Von Pence, Povemacher, and the group down in Argentina, those 3, have resigned or died into nothingness. So, there are only 4 claimants to the papacy, not 30. So, folks, please get your facts straight.